Hey YouTube, it's Little Rocker Cutie 2005, also known as Andre, here with ya. And this video is going to be a response to Andrew Ballina and also kiddy2686, also known as Blu-ray Maniac. I watched both their videos today showcasing their zombie movies, and I figured why not showcase my own. So that's what I'm here to do, and that's what we're going to get into. And of course, I'm going to start out with the movie that started it all. This is the original 1968 Night of the Living Dead. Now, this is the color version. It also comes with a restored black and white version and a commentary by one of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 people. And I think this is probably the best DVD version to have. I've never really watched the color version because I'm so used to the black and white, but I'm not as big a fan of this one as I am of the remake, which I'll get into in a little bit, because one of the things is I don't like the way that Barbara went all catatonic in this one and ends up dying. You know, Ben gets shot at the end. There's just a lot of things. You know, this movie may have started it all, but there was a lot of things that I didn't really care for about it. But yeah, it's still in my collection. I still enjoy it. It's a classic. I'll just put it that way. Next up, I have probably the ultimate zombie movie. It is Dawn of the Dead. Now, this is the 4-disc Ultimate Edition. It comes with 3 different cuts. It's got the theatrical version, an extended cut, and it has the European version, which was done by Dario Argento. Now, I think everybody knows the story of this one, and I don't really think I can say much more about it that hasn't already been said. You know, it's a true classic. It's another one that I really enjoy, but I haven't watched this yet because I'm still debating on which cut to start with, because I've seen the theatrical version so many times, and I would almost start with that one, but I kind of want to see what they do with the extended cut and what Dario Argento did with his cut. Now, I'm normally not into Dario Argento flicks. You know, I tried watching Suspiria, couldn't get through it. Then, I think I tried Phenomena. That one I got into for a little bit because it had Donald Pleasance, but because of the whole thing with bugs, and I have a thing about bugs, I don't really like them. It just creeped me out too much and I couldn't finish it. But I think that was what stopped me from watching any more Argento flicks. I'm not really into the whole Italian horror scene. So, but Dawn of the Dead, ultimate classic. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Then I have the follow-up. This is 1985's Day of the Dead. Now, they upped the gore effects in this one, and they did a lot more. You know, they had these people in an underground bunker, and they're trying to train these zombies. As you can see, this guy here is the one they're really trying to train. And this is one that I've only watched a couple times. I would almost have to watch it again to really get into it. But if any of you think I should give this another chance, just leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of it, because I would love to hear your opinions. And Day of the Dead, another classic, and even in my opinion it's a classic. Check it out. Now, the next 3 from George Romero, I don't understand why these 3 get so much hate, but first up, it is Land of the Dead. Now, this is one of the ones that I got into for a while, and I really enjoyed it, because it did a lot of cool things, but the ending of it I didn't really understand, where you have Simon Baker's character and the lead zombie looking at each other like, kind of like they understand each other, and it's like, wait a minute. All zombies want are to eat people's brains. They want to eat people. Why are you looking at a human like you understand him? But Land of the Dead, this is one I enjoyed, and I don't understand the hate it gets, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. Especially if you like George Romero. this is another one of his that does get quite a bit of hate, and it is Diary of the Dead. Now, I enjoyed this one. I remember when they were promoting it on Facebook. I was in college at the time, and I was looking up everything I could about this movie. I bought it when it came out, and this is one that when I watched it, I enjoyed it because it really brought it back to the basics, you know, and the basics of Night of the Living Dead, you know, the people trying to deal with this outbreak of zombies. And of course, Romero's commentary in this one is, if it's not on camera, it didn't happen. Because, you know, you're dealing with these college kids and they're trying to make their own zombie movie. And in the meantime, they're dealing with this whole zombie outbreak. And they're wandering around with cameras trying to film everything that's going on. And like I said, the main theme of it is, if it's not on camera, it didn't happen. Which I think makes it pretty interesting. This was actually an interesting take for a Romero movie. And I did enjoy this one. I have to say, definitely give this one a look.
You know, your friend Beavis's fingerprints are all over everything.
Now, this one I know gets a ton of hate. It is Survival of the Dead. Now, this one picks up where Diary of the Dead leaves off. And I started watching this one, but never got the chance to really finish it. But I'm going to finish it one of these days, and maybe I'll do a review. But if anyone would like to let me know what they thought of this movie, you know, I know Matt, Rambo Rat for Life, he hates this movie, and I can understand why from what I saw of it, but what I did see of it, I kind of liked. I couldn't really follow it as much because, I don't know, it was late at night when I was watching it, and I was kind of tired. That's why I never finished it, but Survival of the Dead, what I saw of it is worth a look. Anyways, just leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of it.
Okay, dude. I'll just kick his ass later.
Oh, excuse me.
All right.
Just give me a second to grab a drink here.
What, knocker?
Next up, ooh, I have one that gets a lot of positive reviews, and it's one of my personal favorites. It is the Night of the Living Dead remake from 1990, directed by Tom Savini, and this one I like more than the original because I like what they did with Barbara's character. They turned her into this Ripley-style badass, and you know, they got Tony Todd, pre-Candyman, pre-Final Destination, to play the role of Ben, and this one just had a really cool look for the zombies. It had cool gore effects. You know, the story stayed true to the original. But like I said, they turned Barbara into a badass, which I love because I love strong female leads that can just kick ass, you know. Heather Langenkamp, Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, Sigourney Weaver and Aliens, you know. All those strong, really, like, kick-ass female leads. It's just awesome to see a woman in power like that. I mean, speaking as a guy, I love to see a woman take charge and just kick ass. If you haven't seen Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead remake, I would definitely give it a look. Now, next up, this one's actually pretty cool too. It is the Dawn of the Dead remake. Now, I think this was Zack Snyder's first movie, and this one had a lot of cool elements to it. It was one of the first movies I remember seeing where the zombies ran, and it's kind of like Aliens in a way. You know, zombies are just everywhere, and it kind of follows the original, you know, people trapped in a mall, but then you've got, like, this guy across the street, and there's a cool scene where they're on the roof of the mall, and they're shooting zombies that look like celebrities. Like, I think there's one part where they shoot a zombie, I think that looks like Burt Reynolds. I thought that part was pretty cool. And the fact that they used Disturbed's Down with the Sickness, I think that just made this movie even cooler to me. But this was one that I truly got into, I truly enjoyed. Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Give it a look, check it out. It's a really good one for a remake. Now, the next series I'm going to get into, people are kind of mixed on this series, but it's one I enjoy, and it is Resident Evil. This was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, and I can understand a lot of the hate these movies get because they're not true to the games, but for what he tried to do, he did a good job with them. And of course I like Milla Jovovich. She does a good job in these. This one had Michelle Rodriguez, and I've heard she's in the new one, which I haven't had a chance to see yet or add to my collection, but hopefully I'll get that chance pretty soon. But I bought this the week it came out because I was so excited to see it, and it was one that I really enjoyed, and I don't understand the hate it got. Next up is the sequel, Resident Evil Apocalypse. Now, this one actually does stay kind of true to the third Resident Evil game because Alice is fighting the Nemesis, and you have Jill Valentine trying to escape from Raccoon City along with the mercenary Carlos Oliveira. And I think this one actually was better than the first one because it had a lot more action. You know, there was a lot more like surprise elements to it. And I think that this one was just really fun and a really cool way to continue the series. Next up is the third one, Resident Evil Extinction. Now, I know this one gets a lot of hate because it takes place in the desert, and you don't really see zombies in the desert that often, but I thought this one was pretty interesting. You know, you had the part with all the zombie birds, and that part really, I found that just to be really creepy because, you know, as a kid, I used to watch the movie The Birds a lot, the Alfred Hitchcock movie. I found that movie to be so just truly terrifying. And me and birds don't exactly get along, but zombie birds, I don't know what to say on that, but Resident Evil Extinction, it is worth a look in my opinion, and I'll wait for it to focus, come on now. And I would have to say, if you haven't seen this one, at least give it a look. You know, I mean, the Resident Evil movies are worth a look. They do get shit on a lot, but they are worth a look. Then I have the fourth one, Resident Evil Afterlife. Now, this one does get a lot of hate because, for one, Milla Jovovich's character Alice is using quarter-shooting shotguns, as Rambo Raffer Life complains about, which, of course, and Buffy Tina Man told me that the quarter-shooting shotguns would do more damage to the zombies. I don't really see how that could happen. I mean, I would figure shotgun shells would do more damage, but shotguns that shoot quarters, I'm not exactly sure what that would do. But this one also brings in the character of Chris Redfield, played by Wentworth Miller from Prison Break. And, of course, you've got his sister Claire, played by Ali Larter, who we last saw in Extinction. She comes back. And I think with this one, they didn't give Chris much to do. But the ending just left me just speechless. I won't say what the ending is if you haven't seen it, but if you have and you've seen the new one, then you know what happens. So, you know, Resident Evil Afterlife, I would say give it a look. Now, this next one is another Resident Evil movie, but it does stay more true to the game. It is the first CG animated one, Resident Evil Degeneration. This one brings back Leon and Claire from Resident Evil 2, and they're back fighting the G-Virus, and it's released by this, like, terrorist whose family was killed in the Raccoon City incident. And this one, I really liked it. It was one that I really, really got into. And I haven't seen the sequel, Damnation, yet. But according to Blu-ray Maniac, that one's really good. So I'm hoping to add that to my collection along with the the 5th Resident Evil movie, Retribution, I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is called Resident Evil Retribution. But Degeneration, check it out. Now we're going to get into a few more zombie movies I have. I received this one from Sean Atonin a couple weeks ago. It is Trailer Park of Terror. Now, this is actually based on a comic book, and it's about these 6 high school kids and their chaperone who crash into the middle of this trailer park with all these hillbilly zombies in it. And what I think is kind of cool about this movie, even though I haven't had the chance to watch it yet, I did read the back of it, but it's like zombies mixed with southern rock. And that really sounds like an interesting combination. If anybody's seen this, leave me a comment below and just let me know what you thought of it. Let me know if it's worth a look, if I should watch it and do a review. Maybe I will when I get around to it. I have a few on the backlog. A couple I need to watch again to do an actual review. But I will have some reviews coming pretty soon, so keep an eye out for those. But Trailer Park of Terror, let me know what you thought of it. If it's worth my time, just let me know. Next up, I have the first half of The Grindhouse. This is Planet Terror. This could be considered a zombie movie because it's kind of an outbreak type thing. And I think the cool thing about this one is, as you can see, Rose McGowan on the cover with a machine gun for a leg. Now, I thought that was a pretty cool take. I mean, these zombies tear her leg off, and Freddy Rodriguez's character gives her a gun for a leg, which I just thought that was so awesome. I mean, I thought this was like one of the coolest zombie movies I'd seen in a long time. You know, part of The Grindhouse, which I really got into, this and Death Proof put together. And if you haven't seen this, this is another one that I would highly recommend that you give a look. Next up, I have a true classic. It is Return of the Living Dead. Now, I don't know what I can say about this one that hasn't been said, but it's a true 80s classic, and I think this is actually one of the first ones where the zombies run, and it's one of the very rare movies where the zombies speak. And I think that is pretty funny because, you know, there's a zombie that gets on the walkie-talkie in an ambulance, and he's like, "Send more paramedics." And I couldn't quit laughing at that. My buddy and I were watching this movie for the first time, and it got to that part, and then another one, there's a part later where another zombie gets on a walkie-talkie and goes, "Send more cops." We couldn't quit laughing at those parts. I mean, this is a mix of horror and comedy. It's just a really great movie. As you can see, this is the bare bones edition with the original cover, but I love this cover art. I remember seeing it a lot in the video stores before I saw this movie, and this is one that I would truly recommend. You know, it's a classic, a true zombie classic, Return of the Living Dead. Give it a look, it's worth a watch. Now these next two, they do get shit on quite a bit, but Uwe Boll's House of the Dead, you know, he gets shit on for a lot of his video game movies, but I think this is the only one that I've seen that I really got into because, you know, I'm a gamer. House of the Dead is a game I never got to play, but I've seen people play it, and when I saw this movie, it did have footage from the game, and I really got into it. I thought it was just really cool. And I have here, also, excuse me, the sequel, House of the Dead 2. Now, I've only watched this one once or twice. It's got Emmanuel Vaugier from the Saw movies, Sid Haig from a lot of stuff like House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects is in here. You may know Emmanuel Vaugier from, I think, Saw 2. I think she's the one who gets her hands caught in the box trap, or the razor box, whatever it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. But both House of the Dead movies also have Ellie Cornell from Halloween 4 and 5. She's like this, like, paracommando trying to stop these zombies. And I think that the House of the Dead movies, they're actually worth a look. I mean, I know Uwe Boll gets a lot of shit for his movies, but like I said, House of the Dead 1 and 2, they're definitely worth a look if you're into video game movies. I'd have to say they're not the best, but they're not the worst either. I mean, I personally recommend them because I enjoyed them, but it's everybody's opinion, you know. This is my opinion. I enjoy them, and I think that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, next up, this is a modern classic, 28 Days Later. This one deals with a zombie outbreak in, I think it's London? Like somewhere in England, like London. Yeah, it is London. But I don't know if this is like a zombie movie or like an outbreak movie, as they call it, because it's dealing more with a virus that makes these people go mad with rage. And they're kind of like zombies because they run and they try and eat you and stuff like that. But it's a pretty interesting take on the zombie genre. It's from Danny Boyle, the director of Trainspotting, and this is a really good one. I'd highly recommend this one. If you haven't seen it, I would say check it out. I also have here the sequel, 28 Weeks Later. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch this yet, but I've heard a lot of people say that this isn't as good as 28 Days Later, but I'm going to have to watch it and form my own opinion on it, and then maybe I'll do a review of both of them and let everybody know what I thought. But this is one that I've heard about. You know, some people shit on it, some people enjoy it. You know, it's another one, even though I haven't seen it myself, I think it's worth a look. I got both 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later from my trusty YouTube partner, Buffy Zenaman. He gave them to me when he was downsizing his collection, and I would say they're both worth a look. Now, next up, and I didn't even know this was a zombie movie, but it's the remake of The Crazies. Now, I got into this one because of my bro, Lil Craze25 here on YouTube, so Bobby, shout out to you, buddy. And this is one that I really enjoyed. I've never seen George Romero's original version of The Crazies, but this is one that I really got into. It's got Timothy Olyphant and Rhoda Mitchell, and I've liked Timothy Olyphant since he played Mickey in Scream 2, and he's one of those actors that I don't know, I think he's kind of an underrated actor because he's done a lot of different roles, and I think this is one of his better ones. This is a movie I truly enjoyed. If you haven't seen this, I would recommend you give it a look. And my last movie in my zombie collection is the remake of Wreck. It is Quarantine. Now, this one I think has, what's her name? Let me look at the back. Yeah, Jennifer Carpenter from Exorcism of Emily Rose. And this is kind of an outbreak movie, but it's also a zombie movie at the same time because you're dealing with like a rabies outbreak. And this is actually a pretty cool take on it. You know, the government seals off this building that they're all in, and there's like no escape. They can't get out. You know, and there's all these like rabid zombies running around trying to kill everybody. And as you can kind of see here, this is actually the ending of the movie where she gets dragged off by one of the zombies, which I think kind of sucks that they put the ending on the cover, but it's still a good movie. It's still worth a look. Quarantine, I'd highly recommend you check it out. And I think for my next video, I would like to do one on slashers, but I'd like to showcase my slasher collection, but I'd like to know what you all think about that. You know, let me know in the comments below, or send me a PM. You know, let me know what I should do. I mean, should I showcase my slasher collection? I mean, because as you know, I love horror. Horror is in my blood, And, you know, I grew up watching all kinds of horror movies, and I'm just curious as to what you all think I should do next. And I would love to showcase my slasher collection, but I'd like to know what you all think. So, leave me some comments, give me your thoughts. Once again, this is Little Rocker Cutie 2005, also known as Andre. I'm telling you to enjoy life, enjoy some Skittles, enjoy some Starburst, and in the immortal words of Buffy Xenaman, also known as Chris, eat that chicken, and I will see you later.